you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, the only things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years and 3,000 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, where we bring you all the most greatest minds, stories, and journeys and lessons of life to the oldest broadcasting podcast known to man, still broadcasting on a daily basis. The daily basis is the key to that. There's a handful of us still left after all these years, but boy, they're sure dying off like flies. So be sure to support the show. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, and YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Today, an amazing young man on the show for his third book out that just came out yesterday, June 2nd, 2026. It is entitled Superteams, The Science and Secrets of High-Performing Teams by Ron Friedman. He joins us on the show. We're going to get into it with him, find out all the deets about what he's been up to, what he's doing, and how he can help you improve the quality of your teams and your life. Or if you're a parent, you got to round up those teenagers in teams and make sure that they cooperate or not. One of the two. Ron Friedman is a PhD and award-winning psychologist who helps leaders build high-performing teams. He's the bestseller author of The Best Place to Work and Decoding Greatness and the founder of Superteams Incorporated. Wait, Decoding Greatness? Was that a biography on me? No, I'm just kidding. Narcissism will get me everywhere. He delivers keynotes, workshops, and executive advisory to senior leaders around the world. He's an expert on human motivation. He's served on the faculties of the University of Rochester, Nazareth College. They have a great band too. Hobart and William Smith Colleges. He contributes regularly to the Harvard Business Review, my favorite magazine, and his work has been featured in the New York Times, Financial Times, Bloomberg, NPR, CBS, Fox, NBC, Fast Company, the Washington Post, or the WAPO, we like to call him, Forbes, and Inc. And now he reaches the pinnacle of his career, finally, on the Chris Voss Show podcast. Welcome to the show, Ron. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you as well. Welcome to the big show. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to get to know you better on the webs?
Superteamsinc.com. That's my website. We train leaders on how to build high-performing teams, and we have all sorts of resources that are available to anyone that can help them both lead a better team, but also just work more effectively.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book, sir?
This book's about what the best teams do differently. So let me take a step back. I started out as a psychologist teaching at colleges and universities, all the places you just mentioned. Then I went off into the corporate world and I discovered that there was a massive divide between the latest science and the modern workplace. All the factors that we psychologists have been learning about what gets people motivated and engaged and creative and happy and successful, they were being ignored. And it's not because CEOs don't care. It's because they don't have time to read academic journal articles. So I turned my attention to just translating thousands of articles, putting them into plain English so that anyone has access to the best research on how to create a great workplace. And now in this book, Superteams, how to create a high-performing team.
High-performing teams. It seems kind of obvious when we say high-performing teams, but tell us in your words, what does that mean to you in the application you used it in the book?
Yeah, so let me tell you how we did the research. So we interviewed thousands of workers across a wide range of industry, everyone from lawyers to salespeople to physicians, and we asked them two simple questions about their teams. Number one, how effective is your team at achieving its goals? And number two, compared to other teams in your industry, how would you rate your team's performance? And then we took the teams with a perfect score. We call them super teams, a very small group, about 8% of people in the world are on super teams. And we look to see what are the super teams doing differently? We looked at everything from how they structure their day to how they run their meetings to even how they recover from work on breaks and on weekends and on vacation. And that's what's in the book. It's all the findings about what the best teams do differently and how to apply that to your team.
How to turn your team into lackluster stuff. Now, is the key to this, you just don't hire Gen Z employees? Oh, I'm just teasing the Gen Zers. We love you. We love you.
You know what? What it comes down to is we all have the same basic psychological needs, regardless of what generation we're from. And I'll tell you what the needs are. The needs are to feel like you're good at your job. Everyone needs to feel like they're good at their job.
Yeah.
The second thing is you need to feel connected. You need to be valued, respected, appreciated. And the third thing is you need to feel like the work you're doing is your choice. When you have those three things, you tend to be healthier, happier, and more productive. But the truth is, even if you have those three things, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a high-performing team. So let me tell you what it takes to build. First, let's go back a second, take a second, and talk about how do you get people to feel like they're actually on a team? Because most people work in the same department, but they're not necessarily a team. They just happen to work next to each other. What's that?
They just put up with each other.
They put up with each other. That's not a high-performing team. So here's what it takes to take a group of strangers and turn them into a real team. Three things. One is you need a common goal. Everyone needs to be working towards the same shared outcome. So, for example, if you're just trying to get home at 5 o'clock and I'm trying to get promoted, we have different goals. We need everybody on the same page with regard to the goals they're trying to accomplish. That's number one. Number two is you need to have role clarity. I need to know what I'm responsible for and what you're responsible for and how the two intersect. If we don't have that clarity, then balls are going to get dropped or we're going to have turf wars just as bad. And the third thing is you need to have something that psychologists call interdependence, just a fancy word. All it means is you need to feel like you need your teammate to be successful in order for you to be successful. And when you have those three things, that's how you develop that team mentality.
Maybe you should do a second book on how this can translate into marriages as a team.
You know what? It is the same thing because a lot of times what happens is people marry and they think, okay, I'm gonna change my spouse once we're married. But the reality is it doesn't work. People are who they are, and so that's why when it comes to teams, you got to be really careful about who you bring on board because you can't change people's personalities.
You got to hire well, whether it's marriage or whether it's teams or life, surrounding yourself with quality people too. But so you bring up a good point. We've talked about this a lot on the show over the years of leadership and teams and building successful corporations and operations and stuff. And we've moved to this Peter Drucker world, it seems, of where it used to be the science of put a gun to someone's head and be like, do your job or we fire you. That carrot and the hard stick. To where now people want more involvement and they want to feel like they make a difference. They want to feel like they're part of something. And so I can totally validate what you're saying there because people seem to want more from their jobs. They just don't want to do a job that's thankless and doesn't seem to matter and everyone hates each other.
I think that's true. And you know what? I think another problem that often gets overlooked is people want to do good work and they're not able to. And the reason they're not able to is because 3/4 of their week gets sucked up by meetings and email.
Yeah.
So the average worker spends 18 hours a week in meetings. It's worse for senior leaders. Then they lose another 11 hours a week to emails and messages. And so what does that leave for real work? It leaves about a day. So how do you cram a week's worth of work into a single day when you come in early, you stay late, and you work weekends? And so we've been wondering all these years, why are people getting burnt out at work? A better question is, how do they manage to get any work done in the first place?
That's a good thing. Yeah. I remember when friends during COVID, they worked for big corporations. I've always worked for myself, but they work for the big corporations. And during COVID, they're like, dude, we're doing like 12 to 15 Zoom meetings a day. How do you expect us, number one, to get any work done? And number two, we're just about ready to lose our mind on a daily freaking basis.
Yeah. And you know what? We've now adopted this habit of all being on video calls for every conversation.
Yeah,
and
it could have been an email.
It could have been an email, but you know what? If you're on video calls instead of using the phone, you're going to make worse decisions and have less energy than if you'd had those same conversations on the call. It's because video calls are exhausting. In real life, it's completely unnatural to stare someone in the face for an hour straight. On video calls, if we look away, it feels like we're being rude, and so we overcompensate, and it's exhausting. The other thing is, what do you see when you go on Zoom? The first thing is you see yourself. And for a lot of people, it makes them self-conscious. And so now they're paying attention to the way they look instead of what they're saying. After COVID, plastic surgery shot up. It's because people were spending all that time on. Yes, people were spending all that time on Zoom and they didn't like what they saw. And you know what? The reality is there's a time and a place for these video calls. So if you're just meeting someone for the first time, it makes complete sense to see each other. That builds trust. The other time in which it's useful to be on a video call is when you have a disagreement. If I can see your face as you're saying what you're saying, we're less likely to misinterpret each other. But if you have those things in place, if you already have a relationship, there's no disagreement, stick to calls, you'll get a lot more done.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Amazon or somebody. I think I read it in Tom Peters' book where they had when they have meetings, everyone stands up. I think it's Amazon. We've had some Amazon executives on, and I think they have a thing where you do a meeting, everyone has to stand. There's no chairs in the meeting room. You got to stand up meetings. And boy, you sure wrap quick when you got a standing meeting.
You know what? That can work. But you know what I find works even better, and this is something I uncovered in the research in Superteams, is the best teams have meeting guidelines. They make it clear for everybody on the team what deserves a meeting and what doesn't. Because what happens is a lot of people, they use meetings as a crutch. It's a tool to procrastinate. Because if I call a meeting, I get licensed to not do anything until the meeting happens, because after all, I'm waiting for the meeting. So when you have a meeting guideline, that establishes what deserves people's time and what doesn't. So I'll give you an example. On my team, we have a meeting guideline that says no decision, no meeting. So if you have a question, pick up the phone. If you have an update, send an email. But unless there's a decision to be made, we're not going to pull people away from their work. That frees up time for people to do actual real work during the day. Another example is another company called Percolate. They have a meeting guideline that says no spectators. If you have nothing to contribute to the meeting, you don't need to be there. It's not a criticism, it's respect for your time. And what all these practices do is they free people up to do real work during the day, which leaves people to be more productive and go home more satisfied.
Yeah. And these meetings are draining. They can really be where you want to claw your face off. And then there's always the jerk at the end of the meeting who you're like, oh God, this is finally over. The pain is going to end. I can finally feel my legs again and walk around. And then there's always that moron in the group who raises his hand at the last second as they're trying to wrap. He goes, I have one more question. Yes. And it's not one more question. It's the office equivalent of someone asking for more homework, right? Yeah, exactly. Can we get more homework?
But you know what? It's not just the meeting itself that's draining. It's also what happens after the meeting. So there's
when I'm choking that guy out.
Well, what's happening is that there's Zoom fatigue. So for some people, it's up to 45 minutes after the meeting. They have no ability to focus on anything, because what happens is after you have an important meeting, you end up wasting all that time replaying what just happened at the meeting in your brain afterwards. So part of your attention's divided. And so you have that after effect that actually keeps draining your time and energy beyond the meeting itself.
One thing you talk in the book about is the only office perk that improves performance, and it's not coffee. That must be pizza parties, right? Old LinkedIn joke.
So here's what we did. We put all these potential amenities in front of people. We said, okay, which of these do you have in your office? And we showed them a long list that included ping pong tables and the office gym and office pet we even asked about. And what we found is, out of all the amenities that you read about in the news, that you see on TV, the only amenity that actually improved team performance was having a quiet space to do focused work. A quiet space. So this is what people want. They just want the ability to do their damn job, and they don't have the ability to do it at most workplaces. Most offices are an attentional war zone. This is why people prefer to work from home, because they can actually get something done. And so if you're looking to build a good team, don't focus on the office jam. Start with the office focus room.
You hear that, guys? We need to have a better environment around here. Here at the Chris Voss Show, we just motivate people with hookers and blow. I thought that's what you were going to say. I tried to jam that joke in there, but you didn't give enough space, but it's fine. But that's good to know. I always love on LinkedIn when they make fun of the pizza parties. They're like, oh, cool, another pizza party. Wow, so motivated at the...
You know what? A lot of organizations, they'll try to give you these little tiny things that we know are not particularly expensive. Like, we'll buy people free ice cream. We won't cover their health care, but we'll give them free ice cream so that they can show off to their friends.
Or a raise.
Yeah, and I don't think that gets by people. I think people are smarter than that.
I think most of them are. I've been on Twitter, so I can't vouch for everyone being smart, but I think that's pretty much a show of hands there. Now, so these rules, I think there were some other rules that Amazon had too, and rules are important to these meetings, because if you don't have rules, it's just the Wild West, right? And these things can go on forever.
Yeah. And the other thing is that we find out the best teams have equal speaking time among people who are in the meeting. So this is actually one of the best ways to tell if you're on a high performing team, is just look around the room during the meeting. Is one person dominating the conversation, or is everyone contributing equally? And the reason equal speaking time matters, and by the way, we have research showing that when teams have equal speaking time, they make better decisions. It's because what it tells you about the team. It tells you everyone's engaged, everyone feels empowered to speak up, and everyone feels like their voice matters. All of those are good indicators that you're on the right side of building a high-performing team.
I don't know if you studied this, but Amazon had this thing, and I'm trying to recall it, so I may not nail it exactly, so don't write me emails, people. But there was something about how you had, if you wanted a meeting, you had to do, and I think this was Amazon, you had to do a pre-production pitch to everybody in a pitch deck sort of thing that went out to them before the meeting, so they knew what the meeting was about and what decision you were seeking. And then I think there had to be like an approval process that they qualified for a meeting or something. They would look at the pitch deck and be like, yeah, okay, we'll do a meeting on this. But then they do the standing meeting, but there's rules. There needs to be a rule too. I like the idea of how everyone has to speak, because maybe you'll pay attention. It's kind of like in class when they're like, what did you do this summer? And you know it's going to come around to you, right? So you're paying attention so that you don't look like a fool. And then you go to sleep after they go by you. But the one person who asks the stupid question or drags the meeting on longer, or they just can't understand something or whatever, that's the person that you should be able to take that card away from them.
I do think that there's value. You can have a meeting that energizes you. They're not all meetings are bad. Now, we're not here saying we should abolish all meetings, because that's not valuable either. Yeah. We just need to have good meetings. And so the key is to just work with your team, figure out, okay, what are the best meetings have in common? What are the worst meetings have in common? How do we weed those out? So one example of a good use of a meeting is when you're making a decision with your team, to ask your team a simple question at the end before you reach that decision, and to say, if this decision doesn't work out, why would that be? And that question frees people up to play devil's advocate. Whereas a lot of organizations, it's all too easy to just nod along when the boss is speaking and just stay quiet, because nobody gets fired for staying quiet. And so you want to open the doors for people to disagree with you. That's a good use of a meeting.
Yeah. Plus, it can being able to have people input, feel like it's safe for them to input and be critical, because you want the best ideas in a meritocracy come from arguments and debates and shaping the idea. And no one person has all the right ideas. I remember one of my early CEOs who taught me a lot, kind of finished off my entrepreneurial training. He had one guy on the board who was the negative Nancy. Everything that the board wanted to do or anything that came up, he was the alternate of negativity on it, right? Well, we're going to borrow some money. Oh, no, it'll never work out and the company will go to hell. That sort of thing. Yeah. And you could guarantee he was the guy who was the tuber on everything. And I said to my CEO buddy, boss, and I go, man, that guy is really freaking annoying. And he told me, he goes, Chris, let me tell you something. Not everyone's the purveyor of the greatest ideas, and you need other people's input. And he goes, that guy is annoying because you kind of know how he's always going to vote. But when he's right and everyone else is wrong, he's going to save you millions of dollars. He's going to be on it. And so you've got to be able to be a judge to determine who's right, who's wrong. But the formulation of those ideas, the compilation of them, the debate, it just forms better ideas and better decision making.
And you need to have some humility as a leader and some confidence to be willing to have people disagree with you. It's the weaker leaders who are not comfortable with that.
I was going to say, Ron, let's not push it, but I don't want to be the weaker leader.
But you know what? You have to have some confidence to be open to hearing other points of view. The other thing it takes confidence to do is to share credit when you do something right. And this is another thing we find about
that too.
Yeah, you have to do that too. This is another thing we find on Superteams, is that they're more likely to share credit with one another. And this is one of those things that people are afraid to do at work because they feel like it makes them less impressive. If they do something right and they have to say, I couldn't have done it without Chris, then it feels like, oh, maybe we just need Chris. We don't need you. But the truth is, what the research tells us is that when you share credit, you become more impressive to your teammates, not less.
Yeah. Yeah. You want the best ideas. And I learned this a long time ago as CEO, I'm not the purveyor of all the great ideas. I think there was at the beginning there, I had a lot of great ideas. It seemed like I was smacking home runs, and then they ran out. And I was like, hey, what happened to home run? And I don't have all the great ideas. And that's why you need great teams. You need great people and people that feel like they're supporting and building something together. And people love that. When you look at what not Bill Gates, what's his face from Apple did with the iPhone when they had this common goal. Steve Jobs, thank you. One of the things that we've talked about on the show is a lot of these meetings just end up making more meetings. They're just like they're like meeting birth meetings where they're like, okay, we're going to have a meeting. Well, what decision, like you say, what decision are we making this meeting? We're going to decide that we're going to have everyone think about what we said and then convene 5 more meetings over the next 5 months and then hopefully make a decision at the end.
Yeah. The solution is definitely not red tape. And this is one of the things is making people's lives so difficult because, again, they're trying to get work done. They're not able to. So let me talk to you about what the best teams do differently. So we talked about how do you take a group of strangers and turn them into a team. Here's how you turn a regular team into a super team. The super teams do 3 things differently. And the first one hits on your point about meetings. They get more done by better managing their time, energy, and attention. And so they're 50% better at avoiding unnecessary meetings. They're 54% less likely to schedule recurring meetings. And recurring meetings are really problematic, really difficult to get rid of them on your calendar because you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone saying, hey, I don't feel like our time together is useful anymore. We better stop meeting. That's an awkward conversation. So most people prefer not to have it. They keep meeting. The second thing that super teams do differently. So again, they better manage time, energy, and attention. Second thing is they don't just collaborate well, they make each other better. And this is one of the things that we talked about. You don't want to make all the decisions yourself. You want teammates who make you better.
Yeah.
The third thing is even when things are going well, they're not satisfied. They're constantly building their skills and improving over time. So if you can have those 3 things, a team that gets more done, a team that makes each other better, and a team that gets better over time, you have a super team.
Make the super team and build it out. Teams are important. They change the world, but you can look at something like even like the Patriots in sports and Tom Brady, evil Tom Brady. Nah, he's really the GOAT. But Tom Brady and the teammates that he has and how they interact and how they want each other to be better and play better and they lift each other up to higher things. If you don't have that on a team, so many teams are filled with animosity. Every girlfriend I've ever had comes home and goes, Barbara's blocking me and Janie is against me and Margaret's trying to kill me, and there's like a whole list of literary drama that's going on at the office. And I've had guys that I'm loggerheads with at the office, and when you as a CEO or team leader, do you need to start recognizing when you're having contention on your teams, and is that part of your book where you've got to address that?
Absolutely. This is where what's missing in most teams is that shared goal. So a lot of times what happens is the compensation is set up in a way where the only way to get promoted or to make more money is to do a good job yourself. There's no metric that tells you if you're a good teammate or not. And so there needs to be. We need to evaluate people on how good of collaborators they are, how helpful are they to their teammates, how good are they at taking feedback and giving others feedback, and do they make others better? If you can have some element of the people's paycheck connected to collaboration, you'll have far better teams. And I'll tell you how I know this is true is because profit sharing organizations tend to have way more super teams. And it's because
really?
Oh yeah, and it's because it's not because people are more concerned about their paycheck. It's because if you and I are on a team, Chris, and you're not doing your part, I'm going to take you aside. I'm going to say, hey, buddy, this affects my paycheck too. So we hold each other accountable because of that. So now it's not just the manager who's in charge. Now everybody is holding one another accountable, and that raises everybody's performance.
That makes sense. Maybe that's why a lot of Silicon Valley startups work well, is because so many people have stock options and the success of the whatever unicorn they're trying to build in Silicon Valley, they all have a stake in it. So yeah, that makes sense. Everybody wants to see, and maybe a sense of ownership too is there as well. Maybe in a slight. It's
ownership, but also it's going to one another and helping one another out. Yeah. So one of the things that we find on super teams is they're hiring something called feedback seeking. And here's what that is. They're going to their teammates and they're saying, hey, what do you think of this? How can I improve this? And they're making changes to their work before it gets to the manager or to the client. So they're constantly getting more feedback from one another. It's one of the ways in which they're constantly improving over time. And so you want to create that environment where everyone feels like their teammate has their back. They're not competitors, they're teammates. They make each other better.
Yeah. Did you study how super teams maybe get rid of laggards or people that are maybe there's a one person holding back? At our office, we just get together and then push them off the second story floor, and that fixes that problem. So did you study any of that?
We didn't study throwing people off of the second story floor, but what we did find is that when people get when people get let go on super teams, they are more likely to be supported than on average teams. And what that means is people feel like they have a genuine relationship with the manager. The manager really cares about them. They want the best for them. And so they're less likely to be iced out. And in fact, they're more likely to stay in touch with the team after they leave. And that's good for the organization because that creates an alumni system where people can find additional employees in the future. And then you have boomerangs where people come back. That's what you want. You don't want to have this competitive feel of, all right, you quit, you're out of here. We're going to shut off your email right now. We're going to escort you out of the building. That doesn't create goodwill. What you want is you want to have people in the world who are your champions.
Yeah. That's why we call it letting go, because you hold them over the rail on the porch by both feet, and then you go, sorry, buddy, well, we got to let you go.
You're getting into a lot
Yeah,
so,
well,
that's how I know it's real.
If you want stories, call me for your second book. Anyway, don't do that, folks. This is just jokes. Attorneys are calling me now. I'm getting pings. This is really interesting. Building a super team is really important. Do people? How much of a difference would it be if you have you said most of the great teams are profit sharing teams? Is there a space of difference between them and the ones that maybe there's a normal corporation where you don't share profits with them? Is there a spectacularly large chasm between the two?
Oh, yeah, there is. It's about
really?
3 times as high. 3 times as high. 3 times more likely to have super teams, and also more productive, more profitable profit sharing organizations. It's hard to know, though, which came first. It's the chicken or the egg. Were they profitable and then they became profit sharing, or were they profit sharing and then they became profitable? But what's clear is that people on profit sharing teams operate in a way that's conducive to higher productivity. And that's the part we're trying to tease out and help people apply to their organization. And a big part of it is when the leader, you don't have to have a profit sharing organization to make this work. Here's an example of how you create that team mentality. So on your team, Chris, when someone does something really well, what you could do is say, hey, that was awesome. Here's $1 Spotify card. I really appreciate that work you did. But here's something better you could do is take out everybody for lunch in that person's honor. Because what that sends a signal that says when one of us succeeds, all of us succeeds.
Yeah.
And that's how you create that team mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. So just order pizza for them all then.
We're back to the pizza party.
No, that makes sense because you're celebrating that person. People are like, I want to get celebrated too. I want to kick ass and take names. Yeah. And as long as it doesn't become divisive where people are like, I'm going to screw over Bob so he doesn't win the award again this month. That sort of crap.
But it won't because you're benefiting from Bob's behavior. So now you're cheering Bob on.
That's true. Bob, hey, can you do all that work since I'm the lazy one watching YouTube all week long and doing nothing? Can you get us another? Can we go to the steakhouse next time on you, Ben? Thanks, buddy. All right. But there's a curve in everything people do. What else maybe you want to tease out to people before we go on what's in the book and what juice they're going to get out of it?
There's a lot of stuff that applies to you as an individual, even if you're not on a team. In other words, you can apply any of this research to make yourself more productive at work. And so you don't have to be a leader for this to be helpful. So here's an example of this. We studied how people on super teams spend their time at work. And that's critical because ultimately, even if your team's great, how you spend your time is going to make a difference in terms of your own productivity. And so what we found is that people on high performing teams tend to do 3 things differently. They look forward, they look backward, and they stay present. And here's what I mean by those 3 things. Look forward. At the end of the week, they look at their calendar at the week ahead, and they look to see where they have some open spots, and then they plug in what they're going to do with that time so that they don't have to make a decision on the fly. It's called time boxing. And when you decide, okay, Monday between 3 and 5, I'm going to write that proposal, you're much more likely to do it than if you wait until 3 o'clock Monday and then you're like, what's next? Second thing is they look backwards. And what that means is after a good day at the office, they think to themselves, that was a good day. How do I have more days like that? After a bad day, they'll say, okay, that wasn't great. How do I avoid days like that in the future? So they're constantly learning and improving over time. The third thing is stay present. And if you think about when you're most distractible at work, it's in moments of transition. It's between when you go from one task to another. That's when you want to check your phone, to when you want to check your email. So the fewer transitions you have, the more on task you can remain. And so what they're doing is they're batching similar tasks. They're doing the reading tasks one after another. They're doing the meetings one after the other. And that enables you to stay on task with fewer transitions. So look forward, look backwards, stay present. That's what super teams do differently. And anyone can apply that to the way they work.
That's pretty wild, man. Super teams, dun, 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 with capes and stuff. Maybe you should just get everyone on the team a cape. So they're part of the super team, but a big T on their chest and stuff. And super team and get them some, I don't know, some special abilities or something. But no, this is really important. Now, I mentioned a special offer in the pre-show. We were talking on a website that you have for the book with a masterclass. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that all the research we came up with is actually useful to people. We want to make it actionable. We don't want you to just read a book and forget about it. We want to help you apply it. And so we created a free class. You can find it on superteamsmasterclass.com. And you get all the best insights in the book in under 20 minutes. You get all the action items, and you get a discussion guide if you want to share it with your team. All free, superteamsmasterclass.com.
And then on your website, for your personal stuff, the people can hire you for speaking, consulting, coaching, things like that, I guess?
That's right. You can find it on superteamsinc.com, or you can go to ronfriedmanphd.com.
So, Ron, give us a final pitch out as we go out, and your .coms where people can get to know you better.
A final pitch on me? Well,
yeah,
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. All I can tell you is I am fascinated about applying the best science to the way people work so that they can enjoy their lives a little bit more and be a little bit more productive. And if you're interested in how to do that, check out Super Teams. It's a great book, and check out my website, superteamsinc.com.
Building better teams is really important in culture and environment and kind of the whole culture you put down. We used to have this thing where the only stupid question was the unasked question, we would say. And then when people would come forward with questions, we wouldn't shame them. Oh, you didn't learn that in training? We'd be like, okay, let's give you some more training here and teach you some more. And you want that, because the person who doesn't know how to operate the 30,000 thing because they slept through training is going to break the $30,000 machine. Yeah. If he doesn't fully understand something, I really want him to ask me questions.
Absolutely. And let me just add on that. Your job as a teammate is to make other people feel smarter and perform better. That's your job. And when you realize that the formula for being a good teammate is making everyone better, opportunities for doing that everywhere.
Well, thank you very much, Ron, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. And thanks to Arnett for tuning in. Order up his book wherever fine books are sold. Super Teams, The Science and Secrets of High-Performing Teams. Just out yesterday, June 2nd, 2026. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. All those crazy places in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, great show, Ron. Good job.